There is something tragic yet unnoticed in our world today. It is a silent battle many women face, yet few talk about it. A woman with no friends. She walks into rooms filled with people but feels unseen. She shares moments but never shares her heart. She is strong on the outside but exhausted within. If this is you, if you've ever felt like no one truly understands you or that you don't belong, then listen closely, because this message is for you. The truth is, no woman was created to live in isolation. A woman without friends is not just missing out on company, she is missing a vital part of her divine design. And if you don't recognize this now, you may find yourself building walls that keep you from your greatest breakthrough. So stay with me, because today I want to show you how to break free from the prison of loneliness and step into the power of true relationships. A woman without friends is not necessarily alone. She may have colleagues, acquaintances, and even family. But there is a difference between being surrounded and being connected. The pain of loneliness does not come from a lack of people. It comes from a lack of deep, meaningful relationships. What causes this? For some, it is past hurt, a betrayal, a friendship that ended without closure. For others, it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, or fear of opening up only to be left again. And then some have been taught that being independent means not needing anyone. But hear me well. Independence does not mean isolation. Strength is not the absence of connection. Every great woman in history, every woman of influence, had people who stood with her. Esther had Mordecai, Ruth had Naomi. Even Jesus, though the Son of God, had disciples and close friends. Why? Because relationships are the foundation of destiny. You were never meant to fight alone. A woman with no friends is like a tree with no roots. When the storm comes, she has nothing to anchor her. True friends sharpen you. They challenge you. They remind you who you are when you forget. If you have been hurt before, I understand. If you have been rejected, I hear you. But you cannot let your past dictate your future. Healing starts with a choice, a decision to believe that connection is worth the risk. Forgive and release. Let go of past pain so it doesn't shape your future. Be intentional. Friendships don't happen by accident. Step out, connect, and invest in others. Know your worth. You are valuable, and the right people will see that. Conclusion: your destiny is connected. My question to you is this: who is speaking into your life? Who is praying for you? Who is standing with you? A woman with no friends is not just alone. She is unguarded. She is walking without the support that was meant to carry her higher. But today, you can change that. Choose to heal. Choose to trust again. Choose to open your heart to the right people. Because your greatest breakthrough may come from the relationships you've been avoiding. Don't let loneliness be your story. Let connection be your strength. A woman's destiny is never meant to be walked alone. Purpose is not a solo journey. It is a path that is shaped, sharpened, and strengthened by those who walk alongside her. A woman without friends may be capable, talented, and even successful, but she will always operate at a fraction of her true potential. Why? Because friendships are not just about companionship. They are about alignment, refinement, and acceleration. The people in your life are either pushing you toward your purpose or pulling you away from it. When you are surrounded by the right people, they see what you cannot see in yourself. They call out the greatness in you when you feel small. They remind you of your vision when life clouds your perspective. The right friendships create an environment where your purpose can grow. Without them, you risk being trapped in your own limitations, blind spots, and insecurities. A woman without friends may convince herself that she is fine alone, but she will soon realize that isolation breeds stagnation. History proves that purpose is always intertwined with relationships. Every woman who has left an impact on the world had people in her life who contributed to her journey. Esther needed Mordecai to remind her of her assignment. Ruth needed Naomi's wisdom to navigate unfamiliar territory. Even the strongest women need guidance, support, and encouragement. No matter how talented, intelligent, or independent you are, you will reach a point where you need someone to help you see beyond where you are. A woman with no friends faces a dangerous reality. She has no one to sharpen her. Iron sharpens iron, and without that friction, the dullness sets in. You may have gifts, but without the right people, they remain undeveloped. You may have dreams, but without encouragement, they may die in silence. Purpose is like a seed, and friendships are the soil that determines how well it grows. If you plant yourself in isolation, you deprive yourself of the nutrients you need to thrive. But more than just growth, friendships serve as a defense against the traps that threaten your destiny. When you are connected to the right people, they can warn you of distractions, hold you accountable, and help you navigate challenges. A woman without friends is vulnerable, not because she is weak, but because she has no one watching her blind spots. The enemy's greatest strategy is isolation, because he knows that a woman disconnected from support is easier to deceive, discourage, and destroy. If you find yourself without meaningful friendships, it is time to ask why. Have you been hurt in the past and built walls instead of bridges? Have you convinced yourself that you do not need anyone? Have you settled for surface level connections that do not truly nourish you? Whatever the reason, understand that your purpose is waiting on you to break free. The right relationships will unlock doors you could never open alone. Your destiny is too great to be walked in isolation. A woman without friends is not simply alone. She is living in a reality shaped by deeper issues. Issues that often go unnoticed until they have taken full control. Isolation does not happen by accident. It is the result of past experiences, unhealed wounds, and mindsets that slowly push a woman away from the very thing she was created for: connection. No one wakes up one morning and decides to walk alone. It is a slow drift, a series of disappointments, betrayals, fears, and defenses that eventually become her new normal. For some women, isolation is rooted in past hurt, a friend who walked away, a betrayal that cut deep, a moment of vulnerability that was met with rejection instead of understanding. These wounds do not simply disappear with time. They linger, shaping how a woman sees relationships. She begins to believe that people cannot be trusted. She tells herself that she is better off alone than risking another heartbreak. What starts as self-protection eventually turns into self-imprisonment. She builds walls around her heart, thinking they will keep pain out, but in reality, they only keep love, support, and companionship away. Others isolate themselves because of fear, the fear of rejection, of not being enough, of not measuring up, the fear of opening up and being misunderstood, the fear of letting someone in only to be abandoned again. Fear is a powerful force, and when it controls a woman's relationships, it convinces her that solitude is safer. But what she does not realize is that fear never protects, it only limits. It stops her from experiencing the very thing she longs for: real connection. Then there are those who withdraw because of pride or independence. Some women have been conditioned to believe that strength means standing alone. Society often glorifies the idea of a strong, independent woman as someone who needs no one, who carries her burdens alone, and who relies only on herself. While independence is a powerful trait, when taken to the extreme, it becomes a barrier to true relationships. Independence should not mean isolation. True strength is knowing when to lean on others, when to seek counsel, and when to embrace the support of a community. A woman who refuses friendship out of pride is not protecting herself. She is robbing herself of the joy, wisdom, and encouragement that come from meaningful relationships. Some women withdraw without realizing it, falling into busyness and distractions. They fill their time with work, responsibilities, and endless to-do lists, convincing themselves that they have no time for friendships. But beneath the surface, there is often an avoidance of deep connection. They keep moving so they do not have to confront the emptiness of isolation. They stay busy so they do not have to admit that something is missing. But no matter how full their schedule is, the heart knows when it is lacking true companionship. A woman with no friends did not choose isolation. She was shaped by experiences that led her there. But the danger of isolation is that it reinforces itself. The longer she stays disconnected, the harder it becomes to reach out. The more she convinces herself that she is fine alone, the more she settles for a life far beneath what she was created for. A woman without friends is not only isolated physically, but she also carries an emotional weight that gradually builds up over time. Loneliness is not just about the absence of people. It is the absence of connection, of meaningful bonds that allow her to be seen, heard, and valued. Many women in this state have convinced themselves that they are fine on their own, that they do not need anyone, or that friendships are too complicated to maintain. But deep down, there is a silent longing, a quiet ache that reminds them they were created for more. The truth is, no woman is meant to walk through life alone, and breaking free from loneliness is not just a desire, it is a necessity for her well-being, purpose, and growth. The first step to breaking free is acknowledgement. A woman must recognize that loneliness is present in her life. Many avoid this truth by staying busy, filling their time with work, responsibilities, or distractions. But busyness is not the same as fulfillment. It is possible to be surrounded by people and still feel alone. A woman must be honest with herself and admit that something is missing. She must silence the excuses and the lies that tell her she does not need deep relationships. Only when she acknowledges the reality of her isolation can she begin to take steps toward change. The next step is healing from past wounds. Many women remain in loneliness because they have been hurt before. They have experienced betrayal, rejection, or disappointment, and rather than risk being hurt again, they have chosen to withdraw. But healing cannot happen in isolation. Pain festers in solitude, but it is mended in connection. A woman must be willing to confront her wounds, forgive those who have hurt her, and release the fear that keeps her from trying again. Forgiveness does not mean trusting everyone blindly. It means freeing herself from the chains of past pain so she can open her heart to new relationships. Intentionality is key. Friendships do not happen by accident. They require effort. Many women believe that friendships should come naturally, but the truth is that meaningful connections must be cultivated. A woman must be willing to step out of her comfort zone, engage with others, and invest in relationships. She must prioritize time for connection, whether through joining groups, reaching out to old friends, or simply making space for deeper conversations. Isolation is a habit, but so is connection. The more she practices reaching out, the more natural it becomes. Breaking free from loneliness also requires a shift in mindset. Many women believe they are better off alone because they do not want to burden others with their struggles. But friendship is not a one-way street. It is a mutual exchange of support and encouragement. A woman must believe that she is worthy of meaningful relationships and that there are people who genuinely want to connect with her. The right friendships will not drain her. They will fill her with strength, joy, and purpose. Loneliness is not permanent. It is a condition that can be changed with courage, intention, and healing. A woman who chooses to break free from loneliness is choosing life, growth, and the fullness of what she was designed for. A woman without friends is not just missing social interaction, she is missing a fundamental part of how she was designed to function. From the very beginning, creation itself teaches us that no one was meant to walk alone. When God created Adam, he declared that it was not good for man to be alone, and the same truth applies to every woman today. Loneliness is not a sign of strength. It is a signal that something is missing. A woman was designed for fellowship, for meaningful relationships that sharpen, support, and strengthen her. To live in isolation is to live beneath her true design. A woman's purpose is always connected to relationships. Every major season of life is shaped by the people she walks with. When she is surrounded by the right voices, they remind her of who she is, encourage her when she is weary, and sharpen her when she loses direction. But when she isolates herself, she removes the very structure that was meant to hold her up. Purpose does not thrive in isolation. The greatest women in history did not fulfill their callings alone. Every Esther had a Mordecai. Every Ruth had a Naomi. Every Mary had an Elizabeth. These connections were not accidental. They were divine appointments that propelled them into destiny. Isolation, on the other hand, is a dangerous trap. The enemy always attacks those who are alone because they have no protection. A woman without friends is more vulnerable to doubt, deception, and discouragement. When she faces struggles, she carries them alone. When she experiences moments of weakness, no one is there to lift her up. This is why many women feel overwhelmed, burdened, and emotionally drained, not because they are weak, but because they were never meant to carry everything alone. Strength is not the absence of need. True strength is knowing when to lean on others. Fellowship is not just about companionship. It is about accountability and growth. A woman surrounded by the right people is constantly being refined. She has friends who challenge her, who call her higher, who remind her of her values when she is tempted to compromise. Without these voices, she risks settling for less than she was created for. Many women fall into unhealthy relationships, bad decisions, or emotional exhaustion simply because they lack the support system that would have warned them, guided them, or prayed for them. To embrace divine fellowship, a woman must be willing to let go of past fears, break out of the walls she has built, and step into the relationships that God has placed around her. She must recognize that relationships are not just for enjoyment, they are for empowerment. True friendships are not just about having someone to talk to, they are about having people who walk with her, fight for her, and remind her of her calling. A woman who embraces fellowship is a woman who positions herself for greater strength, wisdom, and fulfillment. A woman without friends does not always appear lonely. She may smile, laugh, and engage in conversations, yet deep inside there's a quiet emptiness that lingers. Loneliness is not just about physical isolation. It is the absence of true connection. She can be surrounded by people but feel completely unseen. She can have social interactions yet lack deep, meaningful relationships that allow her to be vulnerable, supported, and understood. The hidden pain of loneliness is one of the most overlooked struggles a woman can face because it does not always manifest outwardly. Instead, it silently affects her confidence, her self-worth, and her ability to trust others. Many women in this state have convinced themselves that they are fine on their own. They tell themselves they do not need friendships because they have learned to be independent. Some even wear their loneliness as a badge of honor, believing that needing others is a sign of weakness. But the truth is, isolation was never God's design. Loneliness slowly eats away at the soul, creating a deep hunger for connection that no amount of success, work, or distractions can fill. It is not a weakness to desire companionship. It is a fundamental part of what makes a woman whole. The pain of loneliness often stems from unspoken wounds. Maybe she has been betrayed by someone she trusted. Maybe she has opened her heart before only to be misunderstood, rejected, or abandoned. These experiences create invisible scars that make her hesitant to trust again. Over time, she builds walls around her heart, convincing herself that she is better off alone. But the problem with walls is that they do not just keep pain out, they also keep love, support, and meaningful relationships from coming in. Loneliness also distorts a woman's self-perception. She begins to wonder if there is something wrong with her. She asks herself why she struggles to form close friendships while others seem to do it effortlessly. She may start to believe that she is unlikable, unworthy, or simply not good enough. These thoughts can become a dangerous cycle, reinforcing the very isolation she wants to escape. What she does not realize is that her loneliness is not a reflection of her worth. It is often the result of past experiences, fears, and self-protection mechanisms that have unknowingly shaped her life. Another hidden danger of loneliness is that it leaves a woman vulnerable. Without a support system, she carries every burden alone. When she goes through difficult seasons, she has no one to encourage her, no one to remind her of her strength, no one to speak truth when her own thoughts are filled with doubt. Loneliness is not just an emotional struggle. It affects every aspect of her well-being. It can lead to stress, anxiety, and even depression because humans were not created to carry life's weight alone. The pain of loneliness is real, but it does not have to be permanent. A woman can choose to step out of isolation, to heal from past wounds, and to embrace the relationships she was created for. The journey may not be easy, but the reward is worth it, because true connection is not just a desire, it is a necessity for a thriving life. A woman without friends may not realize how much she is missing until she experiences the power of true connection. She has learned to function alone, to carry burdens in silence, and to navigate life with only her own strength. But no matter how independent or strong she appears, something within her longs for deep, meaningful relationships. A woman was not designed to be an island. She was created for community. She was made to give and receive love, support, and wisdom. Stepping into meaningful connections is not just about filling a social void. It is about unlocking a greater version of herself that she cannot reach on her own. The journey to building real friendships begins with a shift in perspective. Many women avoid relationships because they fear being hurt, judged, or misunderstood. They hold on to past betrayals and allow those wounds to dictate their future. But not every person will hurt them, and not every relationship will fail. If a woman allows fear to keep her from connection, she will never experience the joy, strength, and wisdom that come from walking with others. She must shift from a mindset of self-protection to one of openness, realizing that healthy relationships are worth the risk. To step into meaningful friendships, a woman must be intentional. Relationships do not just happen, they are built. Too many women wait for friendships to come to them, but meaningful connections require effort. This means reaching out, engaging in conversations, and being present. It means making time for relationships, even in the midst of a busy life. It means choosing depth over surface-level interactions, allowing vulnerability to create bonds that go beyond casual conversations. The strongest friendships are not built on convenience. They are built on commitment and investment. One of the greatest barriers to connection is the fear of being truly seen. Many women hesitate to open up because they worry that if people knew their flaws, weaknesses, or struggles, they would be rejected. But real friendships are not built on perfection. They are built on authenticity. A woman must allow herself to be seen, to be known, and to be loved for who she truly is. She must be willing to break free from the mask of having it all together and embrace the power of vulnerability. Because the right people will not run from her struggles, they will stand with her through them. The key to meaningful relationships is also choosing the right people. Not everyone is meant to walk closely with her, and that is okay. A woman must be discerning, surrounding herself with people who uplift, challenge, and encourage her. She needs friends who speak life into her dreams, who hold her accountable to her values, and who remind her of her worth when she forgets. The wrong relationships will drain her, but the right ones will strengthen her. She must seek friendships that are built on trust, mutual support, and shared purpose. The beauty of connection is that it transforms not only her life, but the lives of those around her. She was not just made to receive love, she was made to give it. When she embraces true friendship, she does not just gain support, she becomes a source of strength for others. She creates a circle of women who sharpen each other, inspire each other, and push each other toward their highest potential. A woman who steps into meaningful connections is a woman who steps into a fuller, richer, and more powerful version of herself. A woman without friends is not weak, nor is she incapable, but she is incomplete in a way that she may not even realize. She was not created to walk through life alone, carrying every burden, every struggle, and every victory in isolation. True strength is not found in solitude, but in the ability to embrace meaningful relationships. The right friendships do more than provide companionship. They refine, sharpen, and elevate her to a level she could never reach on her own. If a woman finds herself without true friends, it is not the end of her story. It is simply a place where change can begin. She has the power to break free from isolation, to heal from past wounds, and to step into the relationships that were always meant to surround her. She must recognize that friendships are not just a desire, they are a necessity for growth, strength, and fulfillment. The journey may require courage, but it will lead to a life of greater joy, wisdom, and purpose. No woman is meant to walk alone. She is designed for connection, for community, and for relationships that push her toward her destiny. The question is not whether she needs friends. The question is whether she is willing to open her heart, take the risk, and embrace the powerful, life-changing force of true friendship. Because in the end, the greatest version of herself is waiting on the other side of connection.